All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker Carl, and I'm here with my good friends Dan and Christina, Karen, and Catherine. And today we're going to continue our discussion of The Wisdom of Sundays by Oprah. And we're going to talk again about chapter 1. Last week we began our discussion, and I don't know if everybody had the book, or I know some of us had the ebook or the physical book version, and others of us had the audio version. And it was funny because when I got the Audible version thinking, oh, I'll listen to it on my way to work, it turned out it was completely different than the ebook version. So we decided we're going to revisit chapter 1 again and discuss the Audible version, because it's more like an interview that Oprah has with one individual so far, and or for each chapter. And then the ebook version has like little excerpts from multiple people that she has talked to over the years, and she touches on the subject of that particular chapter. So, but before we get going, I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves for those of you who are with me here on the panel, and then also for those of you who are watching this as a recording. You can always find us at mindsetmasterycollective.com. You can find replays for this on YouTube. You can connect with us, join in on the discussion any week. We are always welcome. You're always welcome to join with us. You can get information on how to join us if you go to zoom.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. And all the links for all these things will be below the video on YouTube. So if you find this video somewhere, just click through to YouTube and go to the description, and you'll get all the information you need. So jump out, guys, and introduce yourselves.
Hello, this is Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and looking forward to today's discussion. The audio version is definitely completely different. Well, I mean, there's, there's parts that mix, but it's really a different experience, and it was obviously written to go together, I think, which was a brilliant marketing strategy by Oprah, I have to say. Bravo.
Hey everybody, Christina Urban here in Northeast Tennessee. I never really considered it, but with all the interviews that she does, I imagine it is. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but yeah, you're right. I guess that is a good marketing strategy. Either way it goes, I'm loving the book.
Dan Sissick in Las Vegas, Nevada. I will be honest, I haven't gotten the book or the Audible yet. I'm not sure how to get the Audible, so I don't know, maybe somebody can help me on doing that, because I've never gotten an Audible book, so on that. But I enjoyed the discussion when we were talking about things the first time around a little bit, and looking forward to what is shared today, and I'll throw my 2 cents in when I can.
I'm Karen Loja, and or the door, whichever. And I live in the Phoenix, Arizona area, but not for long. Hopefully by May 1st, I'll be maybe Tucson, somewhere around there. Anyway, I'm excited to join this conversation. I think it's interesting when we talk about the power of Sundays, or however that's phrased. I've noticed lately that I'm seeing that different days of the week do have different things, different manifestations for me. I mean, it's easy to mention Wednesday being hump day and kind of a splat on the top of the rim of something else. But I noticed that Thursdays, for whatever reason, I tend to forget them, and I'm always confused and thinking I'm into Friday when it's not that time. So we can be thinking about all different aspects of our discussion here. Thanks.
Awesome. Welcome, guys. Okay, so chapter 1 is entitled Awakening. And Catherine created a post this morning I thought was a good one, where it kind of talked about awakening and how different people come to awakening in different ways. And Oprah mentioned in the book that that everyone kind of has their own idea of what spirituality is, and they come to different eye-opening experiences or awakening experiences in different ways. And I thought that it might be a good idea to kind of start with each of us just kind of sharing, maybe some eye-openers along the lines of, I know we've all been having conversations for a while about a number of different topics, but I thought, maybe we can each share something that just kind of shares how we came to a realization of maybe all this stuff going on in our head may not be our true selves, or maybe you have a different definition of what you think awakening is or spirituality is. So what do you guys think? You want to share a little bit before we dive into Oprah's interview with Michael Singer? I know, Catherine, you mentioned in your post about
Oh, yeah. Well,
you were knocked out of your body when you were little. So that was something for you.
Yeah, it was, people come to, if you break down spirituality to the very, very basics, which is what they did in this interview. And I love Michael Singer. I was actually gifted that book, The Untethered Soul, when it was, when he first wrote it. And I read it, but I haven't revisited it. And I was actually looking for it, but I think it's packed away somewhere. But if you break it down to the simplistics, it's realizing that you're not your body. And there's so many ways to do that. For many people, it's years of study and books like this and listening to interviews like this, and maybe even going to India or some of these places on these spiritual experiences. But for me, when I was 2, my babysitter had fallen asleep, and I got thirsty, and I don't know, instead of going and getting water like from the sink like a normal person would do, I pulled the chair over and climbed up on the cabinet, opened the cabinet and climbed up the things and got to the Drano, which, if you guys know what that is, it clears clogs in your sink. And I tried to drink that. Thank God I didn't swallow it. The minute it started burning my mouth, I spit it out and I started wiping it. Well, every place I wiped it, it's acid. So it started eating the flesh, right? And the pain of that experience knocked me completely out of body. Like, one minute I was this little 2-year-old wiping this stuff everywhere, trying to stop it, and unfortunately I was even, I wouldn't even cry out loud. Like, I was crying silently, but I wouldn't even go wake up the babysitter to tell him what had happened, because I was afraid I was going to get beat, right? So the next thing I know, I'm like up above my body watching the little body. And I'm like, holy shit. I didn't say that, but seriously, it was an instantaneous awakening. I got to go answer a ticket, you guys. I'll share more later.
Karen, I thought I saw you unmute there for a minute. Did you want to jump out?
I have the hardest time with these controls. I'm always flipping on something that doesn't work. I guess probably my awareness of spirituality, without being aware that that's what it was listening to my parents and their friends, the people that had gathered at their home. When it's funny, I think I was 5, but I must have been 9 based on the house where I was at. They would get people together, and it would be after us kids were in bed, and I often had earaches, and I would get up, and then I would go silently sit on the piano bench waiting for my mother to notice so she could heat up some oil to put in my ears so that I could go back to sleep. And anyway, they would talk about things that had to do with life before this life and life after this life. And it was so natural for me to think of things in that light. It wasn't startling at all, but it was fascinating. It was something that I wanted to know more about and to be able to, I really wanted to be able to participate in the conversation. I've always wanted to participate in adult conversations, and of course, that hasn't necessarily worked really well. But so I would say probably from third grade on. In fact, in fourth grade, my best friend and we had formulated our besties friendship when we were in third grade. In fourth grade, we decided that we would make wise use of the lunch break outside on the school grounds by carrying our scriptures. This was long before the word nerd was ever figured out. And we would go and we'd lean up against the metal mesh gate that kept us from crossing the big road, and we would sit there and we were attempting to understand the scriptures. And of course, if you've ever tried to start that from the beginning, it's kind of like so and so begat 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 so and so. We didn't even know the fun part about begatting, so so that's my start.
Sorry about that, guys. So anyway, depending on, and so then, as life went on, here I was at 2 and I realized I'm not the body. So then the first time I can, the most vivid remembrance I have is a funeral I went to when I was 5. And the spirit sat up and started talking to me. And so this was yet another confirmation. Hey, that person didn't really die, because they're still talking to me. And so it puts a whole new spin on, I've shared with you guys before, my grandmother used to send me out to all these churches to save my heathen soul. And, when they talk about Jesus rose from the dead, I'm like, well, yeah, everybody does. I had a whole different experience. And so whether you get that from out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, or, a lifetime or lifetimes of study, it still boils down to the same thing. And that is, you are not your body. And really, one of the things that Michael Singer talks about in this interview is how, which we've referenced here so many times, we reference back to Byron Katie's work and things like that, is how the mind, you have to understand you're not your mind. You're the one watching your mind. You're the one listening to your mind. You're the one that can tell your mind to shut the hell up, which is basically what you have to learn how to do, or the way he puts, now that's my way of putting it. Michael Singer is much more pleasant about it. He says, just move away, just sit back and watch what's happening, or listen to what your mind is saying, and realize that you're the one listening and watching and observing. Many spiritual teachers talk about being the observer, but learning how to do that and recognizing, right away, oh, that's just a thought. I don't have to believe it. I can just sit back and watch it, or I can just let it go. Learning how to do that is what will keep you sane on this earth. Because the thoughts, I do believe, because I do feel so many things energetically and pick up on people's thoughts and things, I do believe that there's some sort of a, I'll call it the collective consciousness that we're all tapped into, that we're all kind of one together. And so, many of these crazy thoughts and feelings and emotions aren't even ours to begin with. Like, I really think everybody's empathic, and we're just picking up on that shit from around us everywhere all the time, and learning to understand that Because sometimes I'll just get, I'll be fine. I'll be like happy, joyful, everything's awesome. And then like 2 minutes later, I can be thinking about suicide. And I'm like, what in the, where? But see, until you realize that's not my thought, that's something else I'm picking up on. Until you understand that and can put that space there, it can really play with your mind. And we have doctors here that tell us all kinds of things about our minds and what they should and shouldn't say or think or do. And my heart goes out to you, Karen, because you are experiencing that aspect of the mind that is, just out of control kind of thing at times. And that's, my son deals with that, and it's so, the mind is so convincing, you guys. Like, it is the mind. I don't want to call the mind the devil, but the mind can be like your worst enemy. I mean, it can be so convincing that situations, I myself have been, suicidal, where I was convinced that there was no hope in that situation. That's how convincing the mind can be. But look, here I am in a completely different situation. And so the mind just lies a lot, you guys.
That's really interesting, Catherine. I was kind of tracking a little bit differently as you were talking about that, because having paid attention to and followed Abraham Hicks for a while and recognized that I really do have this part of me that's non-physical, that's remained non-physical during this duration of this particular Earth plan life, and maintains a bead on different things, a different agenda, you might say. And I wonder if the mind really doesn't have its own agenda, or I suspect more than one. I never used to believe in reincarnation, but I think that we've had so many years of life that if you want to see it that way, you can slot it into all different kinds of paths, and you can really get caught up with and be made aware of that you do know some experiences in ways that you can't describe how that is, how you have those experiences. And so I think we do have a lot of stuff going on inside of us. I mean, it's like we have a lot of people going on inside of us, because it's like when you said the spirit was speaking to you and that person didn't really die. Well, there are parts of us that were probably more primarily young people throughout our lives, throughout our existence. And so you have this you have this weirdo, fun, goof off entity that's always trying to dissuade you of doing anything serious. I'm losing track here. Somebody, if I trail off, just unmute me.
I was listening to what you were saying, Catherine, and was reminded. Well, you mentioned a couple of different things. Let's see, what was it that I was thinking? Oh, when you were talking about leaning away is what will keep you sane, And what I thought of for that was, when I was, this has been, I don't know, 10 or so years ago, I had just gotten to my limit of stress and frustration and anger and resentment and all of that. And I think that in a lot of cases, you kind of hear like this, so-called midlife crisis kind of experience. And I want to say that's probably close to what I had experienced. I just had it, I'd had it with everything. And it brought me almost to divorce in that period of time in my life. And, so it was a really, really difficult time. I had all of this anger that was going on inside of me towards my spouse. I had a frustration towards businesses and finances and the economy. And, there's just everything, and stress from just being worn out from everything I was trying to do or everything I thought I was supposed to be doing. And my whole thought was, if I just get out of this relationship, I'll alleviate all of this. I just need to get the hell out, and but that didn't happen, and so I went through just a lot of emotional turbulence during that time, and I found the book Zero Limits by Joe Vitale. And after reading that book, I realized that I was the one that was causing all of that drama in my head, because every time something would come up, whether it was a bill that was showing up that I didn't have enough money to pay, or whether it was, my husband saying some random thing that I thought annoyed the shit out of me, it would just be, I would have these thoughts. It would come in my head, be like, oh shit, this bill, how am I going to pay this? What am I going to do? Blah, 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 and all these things. And I have this frustration. We don't have enough money coming in. We don't blah, 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 blah. And so these are all just thoughts that were happening in my head. And when I realized I could just kind of lean back, as Michael Singer says, lean back away from the thoughts and just watch the thoughts go by, that in that place where I'm leaning back, there's peace. And I didn't have to continue to think all of those thoughts that were stressing me out. And it was the same thing with, with my relationship with my husband, is, he would do something and immediately the thoughts would come up, and that annoys the shit out of me. God damn it, I wish he'd stop that. I just, I hate that. I would automatically go into this hate thoughts, hate, anger, frustration, resentment, all of that. All these thoughts would come up. And when I started to realize that I didn't have to listen to those thoughts, that's when I started to be able to gain that peace in my life again, and realize that I could change what I was thinking by just deciding that, no, I'm not going to think that anymore. I'm going to think this instead. And so I would start to focus on thinking things that I was happy about in the relationship versus all of the crap that I was unhappy about. And, and it was the same thing with, business with, my children were teenagers at that time. So there was all of the teenager stuff going on. And that was a huge breakthrough for me, because I was able to come off of my insane emotional craziness and step into this place of peace and realize I was just creating all that drama for no good reason. I really literally was creating all of that drama for myself, because once I stopped doing it, it didn't exist anymore. I mean, it literally just disappeared. And I know that it maybe that kind of sounds crazy, that how can all that stress disappear? You still have bills, you still have your husband, you still have kids. But when I could let go of all of that mumbo jumbo that was at me, then I could actually address those situations from a sane place versus a neurotic place, if you will, and so that was my kind of first awakening, if you will, into a more sane existence, a peaceful existence, a place of happiness versus a place of anger, resentment, frustration, etc. And I had other experiences when I was younger with intuition. I would know things and that sort of thing, but it wasn't the same thing. It was just like that was a connection to all of life that I just never really connected what the heck that was. It wasn't until I realized, I could just be this observer of all this mumbo jumbo that goes on in my head, that that was when I really started my spiritual journey. So.
Well, I'm going to jump out now, and after listening to you guys, I think I'm kind of going through some of that journey now. Through over the last few years, I've gone through a lot, from losing jobs to finding jobs to losing jobs again to trying to find another job to some very stressful times through a friendship that means a lot to me and that has really, in some ways, pushed me to points that it really hurt deeply. Um, but it made me also realize, because then I would go to, like you were saying, I would take things to that next level and start thinking of all these scenarios and all these things and things that could happen, that will happen, that are happening, or that I didn't like about this. Why can't this be that, and stuff like that. I'm slowly but realizing that it's me letting all the things come in and rush in and play with it and kind of get me all worked up, kind of like you were talking about, all the everything, and I'm the focal point, and I'm the one that's kind of letting it letting it control rather than me control it in essence. And like you said, kind of just taking that step back and saying, okay, whoa, what if this is really real? What if this is just me going on and on and on and on and thinking that, oh, well, this, when half the time that's not really the case. And if I just step back and just go back to square one and to what it's at, what it's dealing with, and like you were saying, that I can take that control back, and I don't have to listen to everything. I don't have to let that take root or take form of that. Oh, well, if this happens, or why can't they do that? Like, all I can be is control of me and what I do and how I react, and go from there. And so I think I'm in that journey a little bit myself right now, and realizing that I have a little bit more say in some of the things that I wanted to have say in, and now coming to that realization that step back a little bit and just really look at it for what it is, and don't let outside influences overtake. So I think I'm growing and learning in that area.
Yeah, it really is true that where you put your energy is where it goes, right? It's kind of like that inertia, and it just keeps going. It keeps going, and y'all know I've talked about that chaos community a lot, and for me, it has been like one of my North Stars to understand that there are energies out there that feed off of me staying in chaos, feed off of me staying unhappy, feed off of me staying angry, feed off of me making excuses, feed off of me pointing fingers, feed off of me blaming, feed off of me not actively participating in my life. So many like I could keep going, right? But learning those energies are out there, and that I can choose to allow them to negatively impact my life, or I can choose to address them. And by addressing them, that means just being conscious of them, just being conscious of the goal of these energies, and be willing to explore even why, for that split moment, they were loud in my head. Like, why was I getting ready to succumb to this voice in my head that says that I'm not good enough, or that says that I'm not whatever. Like, there's a reason why I was getting ready to succumb to that. Perhaps it was because my entire life I've been told I wasn't good enough. Perhaps because my entire life I've been told that I was too this or I was too that. And those people may not have appreciated something about me that was too something for them, but that doesn't mean that it was wrong. It doesn't mean that it's a bad part about me. It doesn't mean that that it's any less valid or worthy to be acknowledged, any of that, right? And so I guess I'm saying all this to say that like once we get so deep in it and we're swirling in it, it can really take us over. Those energies can really take us over. I did a Periscope last night, and yeah, I ain't been on Periscope. I have not done a live in like a year or something. I don't know. It was like, woo, I got to knock the rust off. But anyway, I was saying that, that lesson of choice for me has been a big factor in turning things around for me, because I understood that I could choose to be actively participating in my life, or I could not choose, thinking that I was gaming the system, and then by not choosing, then things just weren't going on. But the choice to not choose meant that I was allowing a passive choice to go on in my life. And those passive choices are generally those chaos committee energies that keep you going crazy. So for me, things have turned around because I've started actively choosing to be present in my life. And it doesn't mean things are perfect, doesn't mean things are always, great or feel good, or there's never any struggles, there's never anything like that. It just means that now I'm conscious of when those energies are going on, good, bad, and indifferent, and I consciously choose how I'm going to respond.
Yeah, that is so powerful, Christina, because when we allow those kind of the automatic mumbo jumbo that comes up inside of us to be the reactor versus pausing, observing what's going on, and then making a decision from that place of peace instead. And, one thing that has helped me a lot is, of course, I've recognized this is going on inside of myself, but to also realize that is going on in everyone else. And so whatever they're saying, doing, acting, expressing emotionally, and all of that is, and most people, pretty much everybody, it's coming from all that mumbo jumbo that's inside of them. It's all that stuff that's telling them you shoulda, you coulda, you ought to, you're not as, the people that are telling you aren't, are people that they've got all that mumbo jumbo inside of themselves telling them they aren't, or they aren't as good as, or they aren't great, or they, and when you can recognize that, that's huge. You can let go of everything everybody says and not have it affect you in any way. It's powerful. And then, and also, when you recognize that in yourself, what you're doing, especially when we are talking about the things that we think we're supposed to do, or think we're supposed to act, or think we're supposed to be, or whatever, and realize that's just a bunch of thoughts, and those thoughts are thinking someone else is thinking it. And then because we're thinking that someone else is thinking it, then we're thinking, oh, well, we should do this because otherwise they're going to think this. But it's just all a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And we don't have to do any of that. We can relax back into that place of peace and realize that this is who we really are. And all of this other mumbo jumbo that's going on out there is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So even if they're thinking, well, you're just being lazy because you're sitting there, outside on your porch and you're not doing 10 million zillion things, or you're not doing this or whatever, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. And because that when you're in that place of peace, you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, for one, because you're peaceful and you're happy. And that, to me, is the main clue that you're doing what you ought to be doing. That's like the path you should follow. And if that path is directing you to take an action of some sort, then great, do it. But if it's not, and you're just taking an action or being, Oprah mentioned in this chapter, she was talking about how somebody had asked her to do some kind of a fundraiser or something like that, and she really didn't want to do it. And one of the main things that she was expressing was she was worried that person was going to not, be upset with her, wonder why she wasn't going to do it, think she was a mean person, think blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, when she was able to step back and realize that's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, I need to follow my own path, then she was able to say no to that one thing, and it didn't end the world, And I mean, that's so huge. So if you can do that, it's just, yeah. And it's like those energies in the chaos committee you're talking about, Christina. That's all it is. It's just a bunch of chaotic mumbo jumbo that we don't have to listen to. And when the things come up that are stressors in our life or that we think are stressful, is that we can step back from them and observe what's really happening, the facts, not the opinions, and address them from a place of peace and determine, okay, is this really something that, I need to put my energy into or not?
It's like my Periscope was like an introduction to today's discussion. I went through, yes, this is like, I got chills, y'all. Like, I got chill bumps. If y'all can see my arms, I got chill bumps. I just want to reiterate something real quick though, because there was like 3 things that went through my head. I hope I didn't lose them. Listen, guys, I'm telling you that when we learn to then take and be focus on self first and start learning to receive first, because here's the thing, we're taught that it's selfish to think about yourself first. You're selfish, you're wrong, you're like, no, because listen, once I had started learning that I have a choice, and either I choose to make my choices ordered in integrity with myself. See, like if I don't check in with myself, then I'm always out of integrity. In this universe, the universe is like a bank. And either you're depositing positive energy or you're depositing negative energy. Either you're adding to or you're taking from, right? And like, if I'm out of integrity all the time, if I start out of integrity with me, then when I go talk to you, Samantha, or Dan, or Karen, or Catherine, I'm automatically out of integrity with you. But once I learned to start checking in with me and be in integrity with me, when somebody asks, because I'm like Oprah, I'm a pleaser, I'm a people pleaser, and I spent my whole life pleasing, and then I got so low last year, I got so low because all I was doing is giving, and I was never replenishing anything. I was never receiving. I wasn't receiving from myself, other people, and I got to my absolute lowest low, and I couldn't even put words around how bad I was feeling emotionally in my soul. Like, it just hurt. And when I started understanding choice, and when I started understanding being compassionate to me, and that doesn't mean that I'm perfect with me all the time. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, acknowledging that I don't want to do that thing. Maybe it is a great thing, but I'm in integrity with you. If you ask me to do something and I say, no, I don't think I want to do that today. I don't feel the need to give you any explanations. No, it's just no. And the reason that I'm in integrity with you when I say that is because I am trusting that you respect me enough, understand enough, want what's good for me enough. I'm respecting that you can respect our relationship and appreciate that I'm being honest with you. And that you will be adult about me being honest with you. Not that you may not be disappointed, because perhaps you wanted me to participate. Yeah, it's okay for you to be disappointed, but I'm trusting that we're adults here, and you give me the benefit of the doubt, if you will. And we're going to be Gucci tomorrow. I'm being in integrity with myself, and I'm being in integrity with you. However, if I go and I say, well, I don't know, okay, and the whole time I'm feeling some kind of way about it, right? I'm pissed off because I really don't want to be doing this. That means I'm half-assed doing whatever you want me to do. I'm not showing up at my best. And now I'm out of integrity with you and everyone else that is involved in that activity, because I'm not showing up fully present at my best. Do you know what I mean? Let me get off my soapbox.
Oh,
Yeah,
girl.
absolutely.
I am so there with you. I do know what you mean. And I wish that people could understand that, like the importance of what you just said. And, because I choose not to, I have, all of us do, have like so many activities. I could be like quadruple booked every hour of every day of the week, right? So I have to pick and choose what I do, and what I physically have enough energy to be capable of attending. And so obviously I have to opt out of some things. And people come in there and try to give you the guilt trip. I'm like, look, I don't give myself the guilt trip, and you ain't gonna give me the guilt trip either. Like, this is but it's not because, I'm trying to be a bitch or I just don't want to show up. It's exactly what you just said. It's being in integrity with myself, taking care of myself. We can only extend ourselves so far, and nobody on this panel has ever claimed to be perfect. I'll just say that. We're probably the most unperfect group, and that's exactly why we do this, because we want you guys to see that, I can get on here and I can talk about all peaceful and this and that, but do I blow my fuse? You better believe I blow my fuse once in a while. Now, when I do that, the difference is I self-evaluate and figure out, why did I just blow my fuse? And maybe one day I'll get to the point where I never blow it again, but I have to say this. Sometimes with some people here on this earth, you have to meet energy with energy to wake them up, like to get their attention. Like, they're not going to listen to anything else. Like, there's some people that are just so, most of them are in their mind, and they're just so aggressive. And like, if you're just all this little passive, peace loving, blah, 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 you don't make any difference in that world at all. You don't even touch it. You're not even on the radar. Like, you have to come full force at these people sometimes to like wake them up. And sometimes that's our job. Sorry if I just clapped real loud and hurt you guys' ears. I just realized I did that. But, I know people teach passivity and all of that, and I live in a town of people like that, but I'm telling you, there's a place out there to have backbone sometimes and to speak out for injustices and things. So, I'm not saying I don't lose it, but when I do lose it, I go back and I evaluate. Now, what is it about that situation that one, caused me to rear up like that? Was it needed or was it not needed? Could that have been handled a different way? Sometimes it could, sometimes it couldn't, and sometimes you just have to thank God or whoever you believe in for making you the unique person that you are, because each of us is so very, very different, and we're all given different gifts and different temperaments. And I don't think we're here. I don't think God made us all so different just so that we could just all conform and be the same. I don't think it was planned that way. I think we were sent here with our bad tempers and our impatience and, all that stuff for a reason, to kind of handle these situations that we get put in, And if you think about in the universe, if you just think about in your body, and I brought this up before, all the things going on in your body automatically right now, but if you then expand that to the universe, and everything going on, automatically, it's all happening automatically, guys. Like we're really naive, I think, to believe that we have a whole lot of control over anything other than how we respond to things. Quite honestly. Yes, we can create our own hell, like you were talking about, Samantha, with our own thoughts. We can create our own hell. We definitely create our reality in one way of looking at it. But as far as if you really think about everything that's happening everywhere in the universe, like on its own right now, at this very instant, how much control are we in other than, can we just hang on for the ride without driving ourselves nuts? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I had when you were talking, Christina, I wanted to agree with you as well. One thing I wanted to mention though was that when you were talking about being integrity with yourself, and what came up for me is the reminder that if you can't take care of yourself, you can't fully take care of anyone else either. And we just sometimes we forget that, we forget that, okay, if I've got myself so stressed out that I can barely even do anything, how am I getting anything? How am I actually going to be, like what you were saying, a fully participating in whatever it is that other person is asking you to do? And then the other thing was that when you were talking about when you have to say no to somebody or disagree with them or whatever, is that you're recognizing that you're hoping that they're going to be that mature person who is going to recognize you as a person and all of that. But we also have to be okay with realizing that maybe they're not in that space yet. Maybe they aren't ready to recognize they're creating their own drama in their life, or that they, we have to, in my opinion, I feel like we have to be okay with saying no and recognizing they may still have all of this anger, resentment, frustration with us, but it doesn't have anything to do with us. It's strictly what's going on inside of them. They may have expectations for us. They may, want something else for us. They, whatever it is, but for us, I don't want to necessarily say it's irrelevant, but at the same time, it is for us inside of ourselves. In order to have our peace and our happiness, is we have to recognize that that's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo that's going on in their brain, and it's okay. It's okay. They can have it. It doesn't have to affect me. And they can keep coming at us and coming at us and coming at us with all this mumbo jumbo. But I'll tell you, in my experience, even when that happens, because I work in retail, okay, and so I have these customers that will come in and they will just be full of anger. I mean, full of it. And I know for a fact it doesn't have anything to do with me, even though they're spewing at me like fire over some God only knows what, just because I'm telling them, well, we have a 45-day return policy and it's been 90 days, or, it's silly stuff like that. And but it's the same principle when it's people who you're close to as well, as you can recognize all that mumbo jumbo doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with all of this. It's the stuff that's going on inside of them. And I know what my point was with the bringing up my retail people, is that they can have all of that anger and fire coming at you, but if you come at them from a place of peace, it's not even coming at them. It's leaning back, like what Michael Singer was talking about in his interview. It's leaning back away from it, just sitting in your place of peace and allowing them to spew that fire all around you and be okay and be like, it's okay. I love you, and send them love. And that's what I do, and it's so funny because I have people at work that'll say, you're just such a calming energy. And I'm like, well, it's because I'm sending love. I'm sending this love towards whatever anger, frustration, and resentment is coming at me, knowing it doesn't have anything to do with me. Even if that person is close to me, like my husband, is still sending that love, knowing that whatever it is that's aggravating him, even if it's something I'm doing, it's still something that's going on in his head that's aggravating. You know what I'm saying? He's probably sitting back here going, no, it's not, it's you.
No, absolutely. I'm so with you. And so that goes back to the natural order of nature is balance. So if that loud, crazy energy is coming at you, the only way that we can balance out the natural order of things is for our energy to be less chaotic. And that's not always, because let me tell you, my full disclosure here. My mom, I feel like I've told y'all this, but I don't know. She's got early onset dementia. And so you can imagine, knowing me, that she's probably got a very strong personality. And this condition makes it so much more intense of a personality. And she's quite aware that she can't, remember things very well, but somehow that rationale just flies out the door. And I have every intention on earth to be patient and understanding and compassionate and but she will work that last good nerve. She will work that last good nerve. But as I'm growing in my ability to give myself compassion, it's also becoming so much easier. Like, I don't have to work at being compassionate towards others, even when they're not being so with me. So I said, she can still get me to my snapping point. Okay. I'm not going to lie, but that snapping point doesn't come as quickly as it used to. And there have even been moments where, not long ago, she and I were laying in the bed because, my mother still, I don't know, sees me as a 6-year-old. And so when they're visiting, she feels like she has to sleep in the bed with me. So we're laying in the bed and she's just going, she is having one of those nights where I know it's not going to be any sleep and she's going to just be difficult. And she was going on and on and on and on and on. And I was so ready to snap. But in that moment, I thought about, if I feel the way that I feel, and I'm completely aware of where I'm at, I'm very, comfortable and everything. I can imagine how she feels, being strong, very independent, self-serving woman. All of a sudden, everything is unfamiliar. Everything is scary. Everything, she doesn't know if she can trust it. Everything is just foreign to her. And in that moment, like I've never wanted to click off in a bad rage of shut the hell up ever in my life as much as I did in that moment. But I instantly, because I've started giving myself more compassion, I instantly recognized, good Lord, Christina, what must your mom be feeling right now? And I was able to give her compassion, which diffused all of the tension in the room in an instant.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out too. I've kind of, maybe not to the same degree that you have, but over the last year with a really good friend of mine and stuff, had an incident happen, and through that incident, I really wanted to retaliate in my more retaliation mode of saying, well, just go, fine, this, that, the other thing, and kind of cut things off a little bit. And I really had to reach deep inside myself, and I had to stop and realize that part of the issue, it was not really directed at me, even though I got the outward manifestation of it. Let's put it that way. And I really wanted to retaliate. I so wanted to retaliate in a way that is not me. But when I'm pushed to that level, I will react that same way. And it took a lot in me because I literally, based on my beliefs and stuff, I'm just really like, Lord, right now, I do not want to love and care about. I do not want to look at this person and treat them in this manner. But for my sanity, I need to just reach out and just, go way the opposite spectrum and really just, look at it for what it was. And I realized that part of the reason why they were acting out was they were in a lot of physical pain because of some bulging disc in their back. So I don't think it was necessarily directed at me per se. I just got some of that outwardly results in, manifestations of it. But, anybody else might react and say, well, to hell with it, or, whatever, or cut off the friendship. And I really had to really dig deep, because over time, 12, 13 years worth of a friendship being invested, I didn't want to see that go to waste either, you know, and it was, somebody I care about, and they got other people in their lives. They just, got shared custody of their daughter. So, there are a lot of things pulling on this person, and it really has, stretched them to their limits sometimes. And I just really, I had to, like you said, you really have to really put it into context, and well, they're in a realm they've never been in before. They've got bulging discs, back pain, and stuff, and they don't know, and it's hurting and killing them, and you know, normal life is not being normal. They've got an additional aspect of a little, child that has demands, and everything that pulls on them. And I really, really forced me to do, like you said, just really look at from their perspective. And then I was able to go back to, okay, let me respond this way, and let me change, how I respond and deal with it. And I think by doing that, it helped kind of diffuse and lessen something that could have gotten way out of hand and way worse than either one of us really ever wanted, and it may be now, as I look through and as I, am paying attention, and whenever I'm around this person, I'm learning the signs of, okay, they're in pain, they're hurting, their back's bothering them with this and that. So I just kind of step back and, okay, we'll talk later. I'll get with you later or whatever, and let it be that way, instead of me being my normal self and go, hey, what's up? What's going on? And it's interesting to see how that has played out, how that has helped me open myself up to leaning back, like Samantha says, and look at it, from a whole different light and a whole different perspective, and to realize I don't have to respond the way I really want to respond out of my natural self, like you were saying, get to that limit and push to that point where, I wanted to kill him, in a sense, not literally kill him, but, just, kill this person and, you know, retaliate within that same mode. And so it's been helpful. It's been, a growing process. I'm still learning and still growing, and helping me in some other areas now, like with my own mother. My own mother can push me to that limit like you do, just in everyday life. And she doesn't have onset of dementia. She's just that strong-willed type of mother that looks that glaring look, and it's like, oh no, I become a child again. And it's like, no, I don't have to become a child. I can still, react as an adult and treat her. And so it's been helping in quite a little bit of areas. Some of the insights I've learned over this last year with dealing with some things.
Dan, I just have a quick question, and I know we're getting ready to wrap up, so I'll just let this be my wrap up, okay? But I'm just curious if you realize, though, that even in dealing with your friends, I'm going to use myself for an example, because I've had a similar situation. You just take from it what you want to take from it, okay? So I have a friend that's like that or whatever, and I realized that for me to be fully in integrity, I can respect that they're in a space of pain. I can honor that space of pain. I can hold space for them, their healing, their happiness, their improvement. I can do all of those things. But for me to be in integrity with myself and be compassionate towards myself, I can't be in that with them. And so I understood, and it was more, the conversation is more like, baby girl, look, I know like you're hurting, and I'm praying for you. I love you. I've got your back. I'm here for you. But understand that when you're in this state, and I know you're in a lot of pain, but you're also very abusive. And that verbal abuse and all that negative energy that you've got going on, I get why it's going on, but I can't be a part of it. And I love you, but understand that I can't be a part of it. I'm never going to abandon you. But how about you just call me when you recognize you're having one of your days? You call me when you feel better. And for me, that was being fully in integrity, because I wasn't taking in all of her negative at the risk of my own self. And I was respecting her enough to trust that she believed and she understood, whether she believes or not, but that she at least was adult enough to be able to hear me say that. And then I always leave the door open, because she might get in her feelings. Like Samantha was saying, we have to know that they might not receive it. She can get in her feelings. She can want to cuss me out, feel like I've abandoned her, whatever. She can do all of that, because I know my intention is not to abandon. My intention is not to shame her. My intention is not to punish her. But my intention is to make sure that I'm good, so that when she comes back round, we can be good without me having memory of that negative, abusive treatment. Do you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm totally right there with you, Christina. And I had a similar experience, not entirely, but years ago when my mom first moved down to Florida, and she was really far away from us. And she'd get angry because we wouldn't call her as often as she wanted us to. And she would be, she'd just be frustrated. And she had a lot of stuff going on in her life that was causing her to have all of this feeling. And and when she first moved away, and she would call me up, and I would finally answer the phone, because of course I'm like, oh, I don't want to hear it. I would answer the phone, and she would just start going on. She would be like upset. Why didn't you do this? Why? And I was getting to the point where I didn't want to talk to her anymore at all. And basically, I kind of said something similar to her, Christina, like what you were saying, where I was like, Mom, I love you. I absolutely have, grand and awesome and amazing feelings for you. You're my mom. I love you. And I don't think any of those things that you're talking about, because of course she was thinking that I was mad at her. I was this, I was that, I was whatever. I'm like, I don't think or feel any of what you're suggesting. I just love you. But, if every time that we get on the phone, you're just going to tell me all the things you're upset about at me or at my brothers and sisters, or all of this negativity, I'm not going to be able to have a conversation with you, because I can't just keep doing this. Where's the quality in our conversation? Where's the quality in our relationship if all you're doing is nagging and bitching and complaining? I can't do it. And so if you want to have a relationship with me, then we've got to talk about positive things. We've got to have a positive, let's have a conversation about what's going on in our lives versus all the things you don't like about whatever. And don't take the fact that I don't call you every 5 minutes personally. I have 10 million things going on in my life, and when I had that conversation with her, everything freaking changed. She realized not to take my not calling frequently personally, because another thing is, it's like, I hate talking on the phone. I am not a tough phone person. I don't like getting on the phone, and it's just one of my things. And I told her that. I'm like, Mom, don't take it personally. I just don't like talking on the phone. I like talking to you when we have a good conversation. I just am not a big phone person. So for me, I have all this effort that is mental to get me motivated to get on the phone. And of course, once I'm on the phone with her, it's all good. But so that was a helpful thing, at least in our relationship. And like you, I still struggle sometimes with my mom, because she still struggles with her negativity and her constant telling me what to do, because that's what she does, but I see it, I recognize it. And then when I have conversations with my daughter and I'm doing the same thing, I'm like, okay, I'm not being negative, but I'm sitting here telling you what to do all the time, even though all you really want to do is just vent your frustration with whatever, and you don't need me telling you what to do because you're an adult, so I can recognize that. So yeah. Okay, that's all I have to say on that. I know we're past the top of the hour, but we've had a really great conversation today. Karen, we haven't heard a whole lot from you. I don't know if you had any thoughts you wanted to add before we wrap up today. I know we've been all kind of dominating the conversation. Did you want to jump in? Karen? Are you there?
Well, I think I'm here.
There you are. Now I can hear you.
It was interesting. I hadn't realized that you were all affected by the door the way that you were affected by the door. But for those who don't see the chat, everybody was seeing me as passive aggressively saying, "Here's the door." But I did notice that my son came in, and he'd also gone out, so you probably had an opportunity to see that too. He took out one of the little poopies, and he brought one of the little poopies back in, and he makes them do it. It doesn't matter if they're 2 inches long or what. They get to they get to follow him and go in and out. And going out, one of them fell just completely on its head. And talk about being a pleaser. I mean, puppies are pleasers for sure. And so just immediately tumbled over, onto its feet, and oh, here I am. It was just funny as can be, because I think that we're discovering in the world that lots of creatures have a lot of things in common with us, in their ability to understand and have emotions and things that we hadn't really realized before. And I think that if you look around the world and you see things that way, I've started feeding the birds lately, and it's interesting to see how they can come and eat, and they can just eat me out of house and home, and they can take all the last bit of money I have for the month, and then I go 3 or 4 days and there's no bird feed, and they're still coming around and they're pecking in the in the weeds, and they're doing whatever they're doing. And then I get some money and I get some more bird feed and I put them out there, and lo and behold, they come and they look and they swoop and they beat around, and it takes them a couple of days to trust that I've really put out bird feed. It's like, what? Oh, so I'm just kind of trying to say that there's so much for us to learn. There, you know, the fact that there's 80 million people who are not involved in this conversation, who are not watching this, who maybe never will in their whole life and never will consider the things that we've talked about today. I just think it's so fascinating that we can think about these things, talk about these things, open ourselves to the vastness that's really us, and the goodness that's really us, and that we can separate out. I mean, my gosh, last night I thought, these poor dogs who, what a world we live in, huh? You have to have the police and their dogs at the emergency room, standing in the background. So we hopefully don't have a school shooting in the emergency room. And I think, I'm sitting there while I watch the dog, and the dog has this big gigantic muzzle, and it's like, what can the dog do? I mean, the dog's trained to wait, and a lot of the times there's nothing happening, and I was trained to wait for 9 hours last night, just waiting for somebody. Do you know what? Do you know I'm here? Do you know why I'm here? Do you know I need you? And I don't like to need people. I don't like to wait. And I can't tell you how much it means to me, even after just a few hours sleep, to be a part of this group and to be able to talk to you and have you respond to me. And I look at your faces and I'm so thankful for each one of you. Awesome, Samantha. Thank you so much. Thank you all. I love you all. And some of the rest of you join us. Quick, join us.
Oh, Karen, we love you so much, and we're glad you're here, and we're glad you're not in the hospital. And I'm hoping that you're going to be feeling much better soon. Oh my goodness, guys, we've covered so many things today, and I know we could talk another hour on this topic easily, but we've got to wrap it up. And this is part 2 of chapter 1 of the Wisdoms of Sundays with Oprah Winfrey, and we've covered awakening and intention and self-emotional checking, and we've covered so many things. So but guys, if you want to join us, all you have to do is look for the links below this video. You'll find links to join us on Zoom, connect with us on our Facebook group, watch replays of previous episodes and previous books that we've studied. We've got like 110 or something videos on YouTube right now where we've discussed many books and many topics. So join in with us anytime. We'd love to have you. But with that, I hope you all have a wonderful and awesome, amazing weekend. And we'll see you again next week on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.